In this video, I'm going to discuss short-run costs. In the previous video, we discussed short-run production. Just make sure that you review the increasing return, diminishing returns, and negative return concept. We have basically two categories here for costs. We have total cost and then we have average cost. We have for the total, I'm going to start with the total cost. So in the total cost category, we have total fixed cost, total variable cost, and total cost. You can also look at the notes. Total fixed cost are those costs that are independent from the amount of output. Let's say your rent, the interest rate on the mortgage that you are paying, the insurance that you're paying for your business. They're all your fixed costs. Variable costs are those costs that they change, they vary with the amount of output that you produce, like your gas bill, the the cost on the raw materials that you purchase, transportation. They are all your variable costs. Total cost is the sum of fixed costs and your variable costs. Something that is very important for you to remember is the graph that we have here for the short run cost. Remember that the fixed cost is always fixed no matter how much you produce, and even if you don't produce any output, you still have the fixed cost. Even if you want to take a little break and don't produce anything, your fixed cost is still fixed. You should still pay your rent. So that's why we have the flat line for fixed cost. Variable costs are zero if your quantity is zero. If you don't produce anything, your variable cost is zero. That's why the variable cost starts from the origin. And the total cost is the sum of fixed costs and variable costs. So if your quantity is zero and you don't produce anything, your total cost equals your fixed cost. That's why your total cost starts from wherever your fixed cost is. So check out the graph. And the shape of total cost depends on the shape of the total variable cost, okay? Because your fixed cost is just flat. Another cost we have are the average cost or cost per unit of output. Make sure you know all the formulas. We have average fixed cost, average variable cost, average total cost. Then we also have marginal cost. We define marginal cost in earlier chapters. Marginal cost is the additional amount of cost, additional cost of basically producing one more unit of output. You can measure it. It's the change in total cost divided by change in quantity. One common mistake that the students make when it comes to calculating the marginal cost is they sometimes use the change in average total cost. It is wrong. You should first get your total cost. Let's say the question just gives you the average total cost. You cannot get the marginal cost from the average average total cost. You should first multiply the average total cost by the quantity to get your total cost, and then you can measure the change in total cost divided by change in quantity, which is the formula for marginal cost. So make sure you review all the formulas. Also, make sure you review the graph we have here for this average cost. The average fixed cost is a decreasing function. Why? Because your average fixed cost is total fixed cost divided by quantity. It's the fixed cost per unit of output. Total fixed cost is always fixed. As you produce more output, this ratio TFC divided by quantity becomes smaller and smaller, right? Quantity at the denominator is going up, so the whole ratio is going down. So the average fixed cost is decreasing, okay? That's why we have this shape for average fixed cost. Average variable cost, average total cost, and also marginal cost. These three, easier way to remember, they're all U-shape, going down, reaching the minimum, and then going up. The distance between average total cost and average variable cost is your average fixed cost. It decreases as you produce more output. The distance between average total cost and average variable cost goes down. That's why they are merging as we produce more and more output. Why? Because their distance is average fixed cost. Average fixed cost goes down as we produce more. So the distance between average total cost and average variable cost becomes smaller, smaller, and smaller, and they merge if we want to produce even more output. So pay attention to the shape of the average variable cost and average total cost. Marginal cost is also U-shaped. Make sure to check out the marginal cost. It's a little bit different, however, it's U-shaped. So the marginal cost also goes down at the lower level of output and then goes up. The increase in marginal cost is very, very sharp because of the diminishing returns that we have and we defined earlier. Also, the marginal cost passes through the minimum point of average total cost and average variable cost. So the graph for the average costs is really, really important. Now that we know about production in short run and also cost in the short run, it's time to put them together and see the relationship between between production and cost. So whenever we are talking about the beginning of the business, when the level of output is pretty low, remember we're experiencing increasing return. This is short run, increasing return. You are hiring more workers. This is the only thing you can change in the short run. So you're hiring more. Your marginal product, the additional output that each worker can produce starts to increase, right? We're experiencing increasing return. The total product is going up very fast. Marginal product is going up. The labor is super productive here. Also, the marginal cost, the additional cost of producing one more unit of output is going down when we experience increasing return. So there's a relationship between production and cost. You can see that here, right? As soon as we hire more and more, and as soon as the labor productivity starts to decline, labor productivity is your average product. It is when the total product is slowing down, still going up, but at a slower rate, and your marginal product, the additional product, that additional worker that you hire is going to bring to the table, starts to decline. So we are entering the diminishing return area. And this is where your marginal cost starts to increase. So hiring another labor is very costly for you. So the cost of producing additional output starts to increase. So this is a place that you should probably stop hiring more workers because you're experiencing diminishing returns and the cost per unit of output is going up. Your marginal cost is going up, okay? Whenever your marginal product is max, your marginal cost is minimum. So know the relationship between cost and production, and also make sure you can apply the increasing return and diminishing returns also when it comes to marginal cost and average total cost, average variable cost. We have a graph for that.